For me, it's about the law and people. How am I supposed to quantify the value of these things when I don't have evidence?
I'm sorry.
And how people can resolve their problems and just be better for it.
Justice with passion.
I always knew I was going to go into law because I tried to see everybody's point of view in an argument. You say one thing, she says another. So who am I to believe?
Justice with truth.
Either you make the decision or I make the decision. You won't like mine.
This is Justice for All with Judge Cristina Perez. Maria Elena Cortez is suing John Hargrove in the amount of $17,774. Ms. Cortez claims the defendant sabotaged her nonprofit's festival by calling ICE and says she was detained for 3 days, lost sponsors, and needed therapy.
Ms. Cortez, we are here today in court suing the defendant for $17,774, correct?
That's correct.
And you basically allege that the defendant interfered with some of your contracts, and due to that, you lost a significant amount of money on top of other things. Why don't you share the facts of the case with us?
Right, so 2 of my sponsors, I run a nonprofit, Scholars United, that gives scholarships to kids and access to higher education. And 2 of my longtime sponsors actually pulled out due to what happened. So that's $14,000 in damage to my nonprofit. I have the evidence as well here.
Go ahead and give that to Cinder, please. Thank you. Continue.
As well as medical expenses. So due to the event that took place, I needed to seek therapy after, which I have the invoice for that as well.
Okay, all right, Cinder.
Okay, and then also as well, the lost wages for the 3 days that I was out of work.
Okay,
So,
all right.
Is this everything?
yes.
So start from the beginning then. What happened?
He made a false report to ICE in which I was wrongfully detained for 72 hours. So this happened at an event that my nonprofit was holding.
I understand that you two have known each other really all of your life, right, Ms. Cortez?
Right, yes. So it is a small town, so we've definitely come into contact. Our families are cordial with one another.
And have known, I understand, Mr. Hargrove, you went to high school with her parents?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Okay. And you've known their family for a long time?
All my life, pretty much.
Okay, all right. And you have lived in this this town near San Antonio, Texas, all your life?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And your parents live there?
Yes, so my grandparents actually came from Mexico. They established themselves here in the town. They helped build the town to what it is today.
Okay, great. And I understand you served in the military?
I did, yes. So I served for 3 years. I'm a Bronze Star and Purple Heart recipient.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you for that. And why did you decide to join the service?
So my grandparents actually established this festival in our town that was able to celebrate and commemorate veterans, Mexican-American veterans in the community. And so just seeing that growing up and just being around that, it just really made me want to follow in those footsteps as well.
Okay, and where did you serve?
It was in Iraq, actually.
Okay, all right. And you won a Bronze Star for what?
I actually pulled 3 of my fellow soldiers out of a dangerous ambush, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
wow, that's amazing. So again, thank you. So you came back to town and decided to continue with the legacy your parents had started, your family started, and you established the nonprofit.
Correct, yes.
Okay, so then Mr. Hargrove, you knew the family growing up.
Yes, ma'am.
You said you went to high school with her parents.
Yes.
Did they have a nice reputation, the Cortez family?
They are all very nice people, and my family was friends with them, but that all changed one day.
When and how did it change?
It changed because it seemed to me that Not only was she running these things as, my view is political rallies, not really as rallies. And there were some people coming from out of town that I really didn't recognize and I really didn't think belonged in the community.
So you don't think they were unity festivals, as she said? You think they were more like political rallies?
They were like political rallies, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor.
Had you ever known her to do that in
You know,
for the nonprofit?
as a teenager, she used to kind of talk that way a little bit. So yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. That's not true, Your Honor. Our festivals were always just about coming together and celebrating, and people who felt like, you know, they weren't heard as much. That was what the festival was about. Okay, it was never politically charged in any way. There was no violence involved. There was nothing of that sort.
Did the police ever call to one of these festivals that you had?
No, not to my
How many
knowledge.
years did you have the festivals?
So we were going on. I mean, for when I was starting to hold the nonprofit and have the festival being held, that was going on 5 years.
So 5 years that you ran it.
Yes.
Before that, your family ran it.
Coming up on Justice for All.
I consider myself the community watchdog. When I see something that I don't like and people who don't belong there, I'm going to take care of it. I'm trying to protect our community. We've always had no problems there, and I wanted to keep it that way.
If you'll be in the Los Angeles area and want to bring your case to court, call 1-888-552-6878. You're watching Justice for All with Judge Cristina Perez. We're back with the case of Maria Elena Cortez, who is suing John Hargrove for intentional interference.
This time you decided to have your festival, and what happened? Because he really pictures it, even in his statement, he pictured it as a very kind of violent and he was very concerned.
Right. The first thing that was just really strange for me was when Mr. Hargrove came onto the stage in front of everyone and started making these really, like I said, just very racially and politically charged comments about me and my family. It just felt like a personal jab at us.
Really? What were some of the things that he was saying?
He started saying that, you know, we weren't real American citizens and that we were, you know, just throwing taxpayer money away and we were taking business from the true Americans. And he even was like, just go back to where you came from. Just really again, just very derogatory, prejudiced comments. And this was in front of the press and the media. They were here to witness this. And
So, Mr. Hargrove, what do you mean by saying that they weren't real Americans? Who wasn't real American? Her?
No, ma'am. I was talking about the people that from out of town that shouldn't be. You know, as a matter of fact, I happen to have a little news report here, if you can show her.
Go ahead, Senator.
That talks all about us confirming people being over there.
Okay, so but how did you know those people didn't belong there?
They didn't look like town folk. I've been in my town my whole life. I know people there.
Okay.
And I did not see these people ever there before. It seems like she kept bringing in more and
So
more.
then you were referring to those people who came in from out of town?
Yes, ma'am. You
were not referring to her?
No, I was not at all.
Because she is a real American, right?
Absolutely, as real as they come.
Okay, so you were referring to the other people. So you felt that you should go on stage and tell the people who were not part of your town to leave.
Yes,
because they
ma'am.
did not belong there.
Yes,
so
Your
that
Honor.
was your intent at that moment.
Yes, Your Honor. Absolutely.
Okay. Do you agree with that, Ms. Cortez?
No, I mean, to our knowledge, we don't know. Sure, they were not like residing in our town, but they were still outside of town. They just came to the festival. They were family members of people who were living in the town saying, why don't you come and join in this community event? It's all about bringing people together.
Were the majority of the people at the festival Latino?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So you then, what happens after that? So he leaves the stage.
Mm-hmm. I thought maybe I can discuss with him after. You know, I didn't know where this was coming from. Mm-hmm. But before I could have a chance to talk to him, all of a sudden we see ICE vehicles pull up and I see agents coming out, and it was absolute chaos. And I didn't know what to do in that moment. It was so frightening.
Do we know how ICE was called to the festival?
Mr. Hargrove made a false report to the ICE tip line.
Is this true, Mr. Hargrove?
It was not a false report, Your Honor. There were people arrested, as you can see in the article.
Okay. There were 2 people
there.
detained
And as
by
a matter
ICE.
of fact, She was released after 3 days, but these other people were not released, so therefore they shouldn't have been there in the first place.
Okay, so she was detained for how long, Ms. Cortez?
For 72 hours. They took others as well, and I'm a mother of 2, so my kids were there as well, and they saw everything that happened as well. And there was just a lot of shouting, a lot of yelling, and it felt like no matter what I said, it just wasn't getting through to anybody. I showed my passport, I showed my documents, my military ID. I did whatever I could by the law to prove that I am a citizen and I deserve to be here and I shouldn't be treated this way. And nobody was listening to me. I was thrown to the ground and handcuffed, and my kids were there, my family, my friends. Everyone was there to witness this as I was taken away with others.
And what happened within those 72 hours?
So I was brought to a room with about, I would say, 40 to 50 others. We didn't have beds, so we were sleeping on the floor. It was absolutely cold, freezing, no blanket, nothing. We weren't given much food either. Some crackers, some bread. It's pretty much, it was insanity to me to think that we are in a first world country and this is happening to citizens like myself.
So you called ICE.
I did.
The ICE hotline.
I admit it. Yes, I did, ma'am.
Okay. Listen, we live in America. You have a right to do whatever you feel is best for yourself and your community. I'm not, as long as it's not against the law, I support and I respect everybody's right to do so.
Absolutely.
But explain to me why exactly you thought ICE was necessary at that moment when we discussed that there wasn't any violence, there wasn't any anything to worry about. The police were not called, they weren't loud.
I consider myself the community watchdog. When I see something that I don't like and people who don't belong there, I'm going to take care of it. I'm trying to protect our community. We've always had no problems there, and I wanted to keep it that way.
But did you not know what calling ICE would do?
Oh,
Did
I
you not
knew it
think
would
about
get rid of those people that didn't belong there. Absolutely knew.
Coming up,
I'm diagnosed with PTSD, and that came back tenfold after this very traumatic experience, and that is why I had to go return back to therapy.
you're watching Justice for All with Judge Cristina Perez. We're back with the case of Maria Elena Cortez, who is suing John Hargrove for intentional interference.
What happened after you were released?
After I was released, I went home, but it was just not the same. I'm diagnosed with PTSD, and that came back tenfold after this very traumatic experience, and that is why I had to go return back to therapy. But also my kids were just not the same after that. My daughter, she kept saying that she was having nightmares about seeing me getting taken away and not knowing when I would come back. And my son, he has autism. He's on the spectrum, so he wasn't speaking for weeks, and we knew this was taking a toll on both of them.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Hargrove, what other facts did you use to determine that people didn't belong there or that were questionable, as you say in your statement? You're the only one that is saying it was a political, violent rally. Nobody else did. And you didn't think it would be foreseeable that an American citizen who looks Latino would be arrested?
I had to do what I had to do. I'm an American, and I had to do the right thing. And that's what I thought was the right thing to do.
You were okay with that? A military veteran who served this country, won a Bronze Star, was arrested and incarcerated for 3 days. Her status was ignored. You heard the conditions she was under. You didn't think that would be a potential possibility?
You know, ma'am, I have seen on the news that there are people that were policemen, firemen, soldiers even being arrested and detained and possibly taken out of the country, but I'm there to protect the community. That's my job, watchdog.
Coming up.
But from my perspective, it just looks like you had a personal vendetta against me and my family, and you were just coming out to get us. And you were using your other reasons as mere excuses for what you did.
You're watching Justice for All with Judge Cristina Perez. We're back with the case of Maria Elena Cortez, who is suing John Hargrove for intentional interference.
Anything else you want to say, Ms. Cortez?
Honestly, I wish, again, you would have just discussed this. But from my perspective, it just looks like you had a personal vendetta against me and my family, and you were just coming out to get us. And you were using your other reasons as mere excuses for what you did.
No, Your Honor, I think this is a frivolous lawsuit, should be totally thrown out. We shouldn't be in court today.
Really?
Really.
Well, I mean, you interfered with her contracts because by painting her festival as a violent political rally and calling law enforcement that came and broke things up, that happened to arrest her, because of that, right? There was no concern. Nobody was doing anything illegal. Nobody was violent. The police didn't report anything. Then you called law enforcement that came to break up this festival, and people were arrested and detained, including the plaintiff. And because of that, she has lost sponsors because they don't want to associate with her anymore because they think, according to your words, I don't want to get involved with this. I'd rather not, because that's what we do today. We don't get involved. We'd rather not give an opinion, right? And she lost those 2 contracts.
Well, ma'am, as they say, it's nothing personal, just business.
Just business. Business.
Judge Perez's verdict when Justice for All returns. You're watching Justice for All with Judge Cristina Perez.
Legally, it's a very difficult case. The last thing I want to do is condone ignorance, but I have to follow the law. He has the right to have called ICE. He did. And did he think it would be reasonable that people would be arrested? I think that's exactly what he wanted. I hope he feels remorse that you were caught in a system that is not fair and that did not listen to the fact that you fought for this country and that you should not have been treated like a piece of garbage. Upholding immigration law is very important. How we do it is another story that nobody has been able to find a way to agree upon it. But throwing people who are U.S. citizens in jail without any recourse is not the way to do it. He has the right to have called ICE. Unfortunately, I will deny your claim for $17,774.
All rise.
Judge Perez has ruled in favor of the defendant. The plaintiff's case has been dismissed.
And maybe you think twice about having rallies again.
Being able to have my voice heard, I hope that everyone else who is watching will understand and will also be forward and keep their voices heard, because we will not back down.
This has been a production of Allen Media Group.